G'day guys, Wereman here. Welcome back to the workshop. We're doing another rules discussion. I had a few very cool comments. Everybody getting in there and watching those, so we're going to do a few more. I'm doing these again with young Adam. G'day, young Adam.
Ah, hooray! I'm here again.
He's here again. We had a few requests for, well, specifically Spartaner asked for burst fire for MGs, and we're going to get to that one. But some of the rules that you use for machine guns and other burst fire and all that other stuff, we go through autocannon rules. So we're going to start with the autocannon fire modes. Okay, there's a bunch of different fire modes for a bunch of different weapon systems, but if we start with autocannons, I think that's probably a good one. So
I mean, who doesn't love autocannons?
who doesn't love the
I
DACA?
love them. I think they're great. So basically, there's some other options. So these are optional.
These
rules.
are optional rules. Specifically, they're optional firing modes for autocannons specifically. So you don't have to just go, okay, well, I roll a two-hit roll. I hit, boom, 10 points of damage, 5 points of damage, whatever. You can change up how you do things, but there will be a cost, obviously.
Okay.
Right? So they balance them out. So they are completely optional. You do not have to use them. These are in TAC Ops. They're on page 100. So you can use... Basically, autocannons, they don't necessarily fire one big shell that does the max damage, right? You can think of autocannons as anything from just a large rapid fire gun to one single shell. They're all different types of things, right? But they cover it with a blanket thing. So an ACT-10 does 10 damage. Whether it does that by firing 5 shells at a time or not is up to the law and the actual construction of the mech. The rules say that it's a single shot that does 10 points of damage, right? But you can fire them separately in different modes if you use these optional rules. So, rapid fire mode is your first one. Any standard or light autocannon, not an LBX, ultra, or rotary model, can be fired at double the standard rate as though it were an ultra autocannon.
Whoa! So a standard, just your bog standard,
Just a bog standard
old style cannon.
Yep, you can fire it as if it's an ultra, so you can double shoot.
Dexy likes that idea too, man.
Dexy loves that idea. He's into it. So this approach carries considerable risk. So following the standard rules for a rapid fire weapon firing 2 shots with the following exceptions. So normally I'm pretty sure it jams on a 2, the Ultra Axe.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so the weapon jams on a 4 or less rather than a 2 or less.
Oh, okay.
Which is, yeah, that's a lot worse. It's still doable, but it's a lot worse. On a 2-hit result of 2, the rounds in the chamber explode. So you're jamming on a 4 or a 3, and if you roll a 2, it will explode in the barrel. So it causes an effect similar to an ammo explosion, but it inflicts only the amount of damage the autocannon would normally inflict in one shot, and does not cause any other ammo to explode. Autocannon is considered completely destroyed. Right, so it's gone. It doesn't have any critical locations left, which means you're not using those to farm criticals or anything like that either. So
yeah, so you mark them off straight away.
Yeah, it's nasty. Case keeps this damage from spreading to other locations, but the mech warrior still receives 2 pilot hits. For a standard ammo explosion, you get 2 hits.
God, you'd feel kind of gypped, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you
got
would.
Them in
yeah,
the sights, and you press the trigger, and suddenly
it blows up, and you tip over and die. So you're doubling the heat generated by the weapon as well. So you can use any autocannon as a rapid fire autocannon, as an ultra autocannon, but you jam on a 3 or a 4, and you do a single round ammo explosion on a 2. And you destroy the weapon, and if you don't have case, you could end up in serious trouble, and you also take 2 pilot hits.
Right.
So it's doable, but it's not without its risks.
And you're still rolling on the critical hit table. You still need to roll an 8 or more for both shells to hit when you're firing as well. Because it acts like an ultra, doesn't it? So you still got to do all that.
So you've got to do the cluster hit.
Yeah, the cluster hit.
So you still have to roll a cluster hit. So you're still possibly missing with one of them.
God, so you're going through all of that to potentially get 2 hits, which still, I mean, an autocannon 10 that fires twice. Well, autocannon 20
that fires twice.
But an autocannon 10, which is pretty common. They're they're fairly popular. The AC-10,
and that's what 3 hit. 2 hit?
3 or 4. I think it's 4 for
4 hit.
Here, 3 for they use the clans or whatever. Ooh, that's interesting. But but you can still use your special ammunition. They don't restrict you on any of that. It's whatever you're shooting, you shoot.
So technically, you can shoot 2 armor-piercing rounds.
Yeah.
2 precision rounds.
Precision would be really handy. That's basically a death sentence to your light mechs.
A light mech would be in serious trouble, but if you've got an Act 20 firing precision rounds, a light mech is dead anyway. So you don't really need to ultra that. But that's what I mean. That's pretty cool.
Can you imagine the demolisher tank, the stand demolisher tank
with 2 Act 20?
2 Act 20s. Wow.
Well, I mean, it gets even better. You can use your autocannons to walk fire across more than one unit that's close to each other. So this is the multiple targets, and that lets you basically walk fire from one to another across 2 targets that are close to each other. So they have to be in adjacent hexes and within range of the weapon. You determine the 2 hit number for both targets and make separate 2 hit rolls against each target using the higher of the target numbers and adding a +1 for firing at multiple targets with a single shot. That's not technically the secondary target modifier because you're not shooting at a secondary target. You're walking 1 shot across 2 targets.
Right.
Okay. It's a little bit of a rules fudge there, but it makes sense. So you get that +1. If the 2 hit roll succeeds, the target is struck by a single hit that inflicts damage equal to half the normal damage done by the weapon. So an Act 20 will do 10 points of damage to the target.
Ooh.
For an LBX firing a cluster shot, you make a single 2 hit roll against the highest 2 hit number +1. If all damage is applied to the first target after a roll on the cluster hit table, then no additional damage is applied to the second target. However, if some of the damage missed the first target, you use that missed damage value as a new number to roll on the cluster hit table.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yep. So determine what damage struck the second target. For example, a controlling player rolls a 7 on the cluster hit for an LBX 10. Resulting in 6 1-point damage value groupings hitting the first. That leaves a 4 damage, and so the controlling player would then roll on the 4 column of the cluster hit to see what damage is applied to the second target. So
if they hit it.
Okay. So with the standard ones, you're rolling your 2 hit numbers, and each one that gets hit by half the damage for the weapon. And for the LBX, you roll your 2 hit numbers. The first one gets a full cluster, and then any of the damage that doesn't hit on that first cluster roll hits the second one. Or you make a cluster roll for the second one based on that remaining damage, which is insane.
All I keep thinking about is the poor infantry on the battlefield. Now we've come up with optional rules to actually include more groups of them to get damage with shells that miss.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I mean, they probably still follow their rules as how many shells hit, but
but still, stuff like vehicles, protomechs. We just finished protomechs, so I mean they're grouping up a bit more. So you are having a lot of them in. I mean, they can stack, so you've got them potentially in the same hex.
Yeah, that's true.
So they'll have technically the same target number, and you'll be going, okay, well my LBX hit this guy in this hex for X number, and then it hits that guy in that hex with only a +1 modifier. So for a solid crew, a solid mech warrior, a solid aerospace fighter, whatever, someone with a decent gunnery, that's doable.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And then you're splitting that damage across.
Wow.
For ultra and rotary autocannons, you make a single 2-hit roll against the highest 2-hit number +1, and then determine whether the designated number of shots fired hit a target. If only one shot hit, it will strike one of the targets, determined at random, with a single shot that does full damage. If 2, 4, or 6 shots hit, 1, 2, or 3 shots will strike each target at full damage. Okay? If 3 or 5 shots hit, 1 or 2 will strike each target to randomly determine where the other shot lands. So you split, you've got like a nice even spread, then you get half each. And they do full damage. So a rotary 5, you can go up to 6 bullets.
Yeah.
And if all 6 hit, you get 3 on each target. And you're only, I think I said two hit numbers, but you're only rolling 1. So the highest 2 hit number +1 for the multiple target thing. And that's for the LBX as well. So you make that first one, whoever's got the worst target number, add 1 to it, roll that off. If you do it, then boom, smacko.
God, you could take down buildings quick like that. You'd be attacking multiple, oh my gosh.
Multiple hexes and multiple shots, and it's just insane.
We might have to get our riflemen's out with the twin racks there.
It's funny you mention infantry. So when using this attack from a non-infantry unit against conventional infantry, treat the weapon as the next row above on the non-infantry weapon damage against infantry table. So, i.e., a cluster ballistic becomes a direct fire ballistic attack. So they have on 216 of Total War. There, they have non-infantry weapon damage table. And then you have number of conventional troopers hit, right? So you're going 1 up. So if you've got cluster ballistic, it's normally damage value divided by 10 plus 1, which 11. And then direct fire ballistic is divided by 10. So you're getting slightly less damage. So you're divided by 10, and then you're adding 1 to it for ballistic, for cluster ballistic. And for direct fire ballistic, you're just dividing by 10. You don't get that extra +1.
Okay.
So it's slightly worse. Pulse lasers get damage value divided by 10 plus 2. So, you know.
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the infantry, yeah, they, especially if they're out in the open, you're going to be multiplying damage.
They're going to be hurt.
You're still doing a lot of damage. If you can't afford artillery to bring down on a hex, then, I don't know, just raking it with all these autocannons might be the trick.
And you can technically mix these two modes, so you can have them together. So players can fire at multiple targets in rapid fire mode. Now, honestly, I wouldn't use rapid fire mode unless I was, like, super desperate.
Wow.
Because there's way too much chance for things to go wrong there for me. Rolling a 2 means you explode. No thanks very much. But you can technically do it. So you resolve damage as though the autocannon is a rapid fire weapon using 2 shots. So if you land both of those 2 shots, they'll get 1 each. The 2 targets will get 1 each, and they'll do full damage.
I'm going to do it on my last 2 shells, Tarron. My last 2 shells. I will risk that to pump out more damage in 1 round.
Yep, yeah, you could probably do it that way. Yeah, that'd work. Oh dear. I just like the idea of using the multiple targets with the cluster ones, because the LBXs you can recover some of the cluster table damage that's lost.
That's right.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like the
that's
idea.
Handy,
of that.
eh?
It's 1 target number, the highest target number +1. If you make that, you do your cluster hit against the person that was there, that target number applied to, and then anything you miss with the cluster becomes a new cluster roll on the next one. Oh. I like it. I reckon that's cool.
An LB20X or whatever would really
just decimating people. Literally in some cases.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's autocannon alternate fire modes. Hopefully we've piqued some interest there. Honestly, I would skip rapid fire mode, but you do you, dude.
I don't know. There's a lot of Davian players thinking, I could do some stuff with that. I could do some stuff with that. I'm just thinking of the, the Annihilator?
Yeah, there was a lot of autocannon action on that thing.
4 Ultra 10. No, there's 4 standard autocannon 10s. Which you could do, but yeah, I think there was a version with ultra, like an ultra.
But just think,
standard.
Like firing that in rapid mode, you have a chance for them to blow up. But firing across multiple targets, what is it, 4 Act 10s?
Yeah.
You can walk that across 2 targets, and each one will take 5 damage, assuming you hit them with the thing, and that's like it's 40 damage divided by 2 units. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's still not a bad thing. But then you could rapid fire it as well. And that's 80 damage.
80 damage.
Divided by 2 units. Well, yeah, divided across 2 units, because if 2 hit, then 1 hits each at full damage.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
whoa,
it's solid damage output.
Even the awesome's like, whoa,
yeah,
down
just,
there, brother.
Just calm down, buddy.
You have to get a name change to not quite as awesome.
Yeah,
as the Annihilator.
Oh dear.
Wow,
that's a long
cool.
thing.
But
yeah, they're
cool.
not bad.
All these are optional rules that you can use for stuff that we haven't sort of talked about on the normal channel videos that we've done. That's so good.
I mean, like I say, 99.9% of these videos or these audio things are going to be on TAC Ops, because TAC Ops is just full of optional rules. There are so many optional rules in TAC Ops, you would not believe it. If you have one of the box sets and you have Total Warfare, my thought would be to go to Tech Manual, because I like building, right? But if you want optional rules, if you want some things that are going to do funky stuff, TAC Ops is where you go, because that'll give you so many options. But yeah, that's autocannon optional fire modes. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed listening to Adam get all excited about blowing things up. And yeah, it's all good.
You're talking about like risk it for a biscuit, mate, and there's some potential damage right there. Like there have been a few games where I could think where these would be very useful.
Yeah,
you know, if you've got 2 opponents that are coming against you and they haven't got a lot of armor left, and you want crits,
yeah,
you could really optimize your damage.
If they stay too close together, then yeah, I mean you can multiple target them, and you can rapid fire them at the same time, and just go for broke and start doing serious amounts of damage. They have to be in adjacent hexes, so yeah, they'd have to stay grouped up. But
well, you could do that. You know, there's areas of the battlefield, if you could corral someone in there.
Well, like you say, I've had situations where that happened. I mean, I've used Thunder LRMs to force people into choke points, because nobody wants to step on a minefield.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, you do that, force them down a single or like 2 or 3 hex lane, and just have demolishers, annihilators, anything with multiple autocannons.
Yeah.
And just bloom.
And my Zhukovs, I like those tanks.
The Zhukovs,
Twin standard AC-10 on a Tarron.
I hate those tanks. They murdered me in my Protomech game. But we're not going into that. I'm calling it there. I don't like Zhukov mentions. They are good, though. Oh, dear. All right, so that's autocannon fire modes. We're going to move on. We'll go to another one. We'll probably do machine guns next. That was, like I say, that was Spartaner who asked for that one. So now that we've done rapid fire and multiple targets, we can move on to machine guns, and they have similar stuff.
Oh, now you're talking.
All good. All right, well, let's move on, and you guys stay groovy, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.